Hi Homeworthy, I'm Erika and this is my home in York, Pennsylvania. I am so excited to have you here and I cannot wait to show you everything. Come on in.
This holiday season, get ready to unwrap the most magnificent holiday homes with Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas. For the month of December, we'll take you inside the most heartwarming houses, decked out for the holidays in true festive fashion. From twinkling lights and elegantly trimmed trees to sparkling ornaments and cozy holiday charm, these homes capture the warmth, wonder, and beauty that make this season so special. So join us as Homeworthy celebrates 25 Days of Christmas. The magic starts now.
Raise your glass. Cheers! Merry Christmas! Happy holidays!
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Erika Kikola and this is my home in York, Pennsylvania. This house was built in 1917 and I believe it's an American Foursquare. When we first bought the home about 11 years ago, it was pretty much a complete gut job. We completely renovated the entire first floor. We redid the ceilings, we rewired the house, took out a wall, all new custom kitchen that we did ourselves. I've just gotten more confident with color and playing with pattern as the years have gone on. So this is, I think, the third or fourth iteration, and this is by far the most colorful iteration, but I also think that I have managed to infuse the most of my personality and culture and lived experience, kind of like you can see throughout the house, and I'll talk about it, different ways that I have put my journey of life into the space, and that's something that's really important to me as a designer. I think that your home should feel where you feel the most safe and healing and calm, and I really wanted to make this iteration be super cozy and nostalgic, but also super colorful. I, for a long time, have wanted to incorporate my heritage into the home, which is being from West Virginia, Appalachia. I didn't want to look like a Cracker Barrel vibe. So that's why I designed the wallpaper with all the color. I love color and pattern and texture and whimsy, but I want it to feel very cozy and never feel like pretentious, if that makes sense, because sometimes I feel like it can. My Christmas style is very nostalgic, very warm. I take a lot of inspiration actually from movies. I don't know, something about it just encapsulates the whimsy of childhood, and I really want to give that to my kids. I'm trying to give them the Christmas that I wish I guess had growing up. Okay, so this is my living room and it's very Christmassy in here. This is a multifunctional space. We do not have an entryway, so I have a little play kitchen off to the side for my daughter, and this is the star. This Christmas tree probably, I would say, has maybe 14 to 1500 vintage glass ornaments on it. I usually take about 2 weeks to decorate this tree from start to finish, and it is definitely a labor of love and a labor of hate whenever I have to take it down, because it is so time consuming to wrap everything and unwrap everything. But it is just so magical. My favorite comment that I'll get sometimes on social media is that it reminds them of an I Spy page. And I love that, because really you look in and you will see I have a little Santa. We've got little elves in here. I mean, I put ornaments all the way to the base of the tree. So there's just layer upon layer of magic in here. I had my daughter start, I usually do popcorn on the tree, but she really didn't like it, so I ran out of time. But I do, that's like my final step in the last few weeks before Christmas, is to put popcorn and sometimes cranberries and popcorn on the tree. My son has requested that since he saw it on Mickey Mouse years ago, so I always do that for him. So I would say this is one of my favorites. I love pink and I love hot pink especially. And then I love to collect, let me find one that's right here. Here's one. These, I think they're satin or silk vintage horses. And I have a few others that are on rockers throughout the tree as well. Oh my gosh, there's so many things on here. I use vintage reflectors, and then these little also reflectors. I have little vintage candy canes hidden throughout. And these were handmade ornaments that I got this past summer at a yard sale. This little Mrs. Claus, I love her even though she's like singed up there. And I got this. This is a paper mache Santa. I found him at a flea market for $5 this summer. I was so excited. I think he's so fun doing his little split. And these little bells right here, these were my great grandma's, and I always remembered seeing them growing up because I was raised by my grandparents at their house, and I'm so glad that she gave those to me. Over here, I used to make vintage ornament wreaths, and this is one that I made about 5 years ago. I got my little Russian doll Santas here. I've had those for probably 10 years. This is one of like my favorite first vintage ornament, like thrift finds, if that makes sense. These are wooden vintage deer that my grandparents gave me, and then I made paper chains. You can see I doubled them up over here to hide some of my cords. And then I saw on TikTok, I cannot remember the user's name, but she was doing like every day a Martha Stewart craft. And so this was a Martha Stewart craft, one of her old books, making tassels out of the construction paper. And I thought that was just such a genius idea. We have that. And then all of this is vintage ornaments. I made this bow out of the garland. And then I only have 2 up, but I made the stockings using the little Busilla felt kits. Pink and red are my favorite colors, and I try to incorporate them as much as possible in every space that I decorate. But I do like how they pop against the blue in here especially. I did consider doing a blue chain, but I changed my mind pretty quickly on that. So no, I don't really ever do a theme. I just do what I want to do. I will say there are a lot of bows this year, so that's kind of a theme, I guess. But I don't really do a theme. I use what I have and then make the rest. Maybe one of my favorite things ever. Earlier when I got it out of the box, it wasn't working and I almost cried. My husband fixed it, so it's a little music box. So back in 2019, I saw a Facebook Marketplace post for a Christmas sale, and I was like the first one there, and there was an elderly couple that were retiring and moving to the Bahamas. So they were selling their entire collection of vintage Christmas decor, everything, and I bought all of it. And I think I maybe paid $200, and I got so many ornaments, so many linens, and this was one of the things that I got. And it's really special to me because I could tell that it was really difficult for them to part with it. And they talked about how their kids loved it growing up. So like, I don't take that lightly, and my kids love it. And that's a huge reason why I love decorating with nostalgic and vintage Christmas items. All right, so we're gonna move over to the other side of the room, and I have this large gallery wall behind me with the wallpaper that I designed. One of the things that I wanted to do was incorporate more art, and I was having a hard time finding exactly what I wanted, and I really wanted to support Appalachian artists because that's where I come from, and as a creative, I know it can be difficult, I guess, there. Anyway, so I found an artist. Her name is Rachel Edinger, and I found her on Instagram, and we came up with this. This is like a passion project for me. There are multiple little scenes. So this scene with the water, I gave her a picture. I was raised by my grandparents and I was raised Pentecostal. And I was baptized in like, oh brother, where art thou style, like in like the little swimming hole in the creek. So that is what this image is of. And it's a love letter to mothers and to women is what this wallpaper means to me. It's a love letter to the women that raised me. So we only put women in the paper, and it's, you know, doing motherly things, caring for their family. There is a scene on the porch and they're snapping beans, which is something that I did all the time growing up with my grandma. There is a scene of working in the garden, which is something I did working with my grandma. And then there's a scene of me and my kids hanging laundry on the line. And you can see like the rolling hills and the mountains behind us. And then on each little, I guess, tile, there's a border. And I got the idea to do that from pictures that I found of, I think they were Russian children's books, and they had these borders, so I use that as a way to incorporate more things from our culture. And so this is a pepperoni roll, which is a staple for West Virginia. Like my grandma was a lunch lady, and she has made thousands of them in her life. And so it's just something that's super cool and important to me, and I thought it would be really fun to sneak that in there somewhere. I wanted it to look like three-dimensional, and the wallpaper kind of reminds me of a quilt, and I like that it's, you know, the geometric squares, but I also wanted to put stuff on it to break it up so that it wasn't so comic book looking, if that makes sense. And I love just to layer things on top of things. So we just have multiple pictures that I've thrifted, some art, some little shelves up here. Yeah, so I've wanted to hang garland up like this for probably the past 3 or 4 years. I just never did it. And finally I was like, this is the year, this is it. We kept seeing it in movies and my kids were always like talking about how pretty it was. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. This is the year Mommy's gonna put the garland up like Mickey Mouse has. And I love it. I think it's so cool. And it just adds just like another, it's like next level, you know? So these sconces we bought in Baltimore. There is a big warehouse you can go, I think it's called Second Chance, and you can buy all sorts of antique things that have been taken out of old homes for really, really reasonable prices. So all of these sconces, I believe, were from the 1920s, and we bought them there. And I think I only paid $50 a piece for these, which is a great price. Whenever we did our last renovation, we tried to do only antique or vintage lighting. And I really like those. And I like how it feels just so cozy right here, like around the sectional. So the sectional it's from IKEA. This is the first big IKEA purchase I've ever made. And I like it so far. It's super comfortable. And it's the perfect blank slate to layer lots of blankets, partially because I have kids and I have a white couch. So there's always blankets and quilts on here, and it's cozy, and there's always lots of pillows. I just like to, I like pillows a lot. Yeah. I did layer the rugs. The top rug is vintage from Turkey, and then the bottom is just a plain standard jute rug. This is my first time actually layering rugs like this, and I really like it. I like that the lighter jute rug brightens it up because the floors are so dark, and that's my biggest regret whenever we renovated the floors, because these are the original floors, and they're not in super great shape. They probably need replaced at this point. But when we did our renovations years ago, I chose a really dark stain, and it shows all the dirt. Anyway, so the jute rug definitely brightens it up, and I wanted to do pink just because I thought it would be kind of unexpected in a blue room to have a pink rug, but I did want to make sure that there was a little bit of blue to pull and tie everything together in here. So I got this from Facebook Marketplace. I wanted to add something with more natural element to it because there is so much painted furniture and painted wood in here. And I found this quilt at a flea market this summer, and it is so beautiful, and it's double-sided. And it matches, I feel like, the colors in here so well. Oh, this is one of my favorite finds ever. And over here, So people always ask me if I have inherited like Christmas stuff from my grandparents or from my family members. And honestly, I don't have a ton. But one thing, my grandma has this house. And somehow this summer, I've never seen them before. I found 2 of them, each for $5. And I bought both of them because it reminds me of her. And this little ceramic tree, this one's not vintage. I made that with my daughter at a little pottery place. Okay, so now we're gonna move into the dining room. And as you can see, we got a lot going on here. I made all of these garlands, and then the little cat ones are vintage dead stock that I've had for years and finally opened and decided to display them. We've got plates, deer antlers with ornaments. We have a lot of Christmas going on in here. So when we renovated this, I wanted to color drench it in yellow. This is open with the kitchen. So on this side, everything is the same shade, but over in the kitchen to kind of differentiate the 2 spaces, I did some wallpaper. We added this beadboard and we put the sconces in here. And these are antique sconces that I got at Second Chance in Baltimore. I paid $8 for each of them, which is insane. We decided when we did our renovations to move the table over. So we moved the chandelier over to just maximize as much space as possible. And so now we're using the window bench as the seating on this side. And I covered the cushions with a sunbrella leopard fabric that will hold up with my kids. For the garland that I have framing the window seat, I found this idea on Pinterest and have wanted to do it ever since I saw it last year. And I just went for it this year, just layered mini colored lights. And these are True Tone C7s. And then I added some reflectors. Now this is 2 different garlands that I weaved together to make it fluffier. And then I made paper chains and I did the dried orange garland. The wreath, I made that years ago. Above, we have tons of snowflakes. Now I do have, I think 3 or 4, these are, pre-made, and I have some stars that were pre-made, but the rest of the snowflakes, me and my husband made them. Mine are the more juvenile looking ones, and then his are the ones that are really sharp and perfect looking. So we have a nice mix going on. This is an antique chandelier that I got on eBay. I did splurge on this. Usually I'm really thrifty when it comes to buying things, but I love it. I wanted something with color and with glass, and I couldn't find anything that was affordable. And I hung ornaments off of it. I specifically had in mind a chandelier that I could hang ornaments off of, because before I had a fringe chandelier that I made and I just couldn't do that. So love that. So on the table, I had a very maximalist, whimsical vision, sugar plum fairy. We made this mandarin tree. My lovely neighbor came over and helped me do this. And we pushed all of these cloves in here. And actually, my 2-year-old helped do this, which was super fun. I did the candy tree. This took me about 3 hours. I'm not sure that I would do that again. It's beautiful, but that was very, very time consuming. And I just have a mismatch of plates that are thrifted, some little ornaments on here, these little angels that I got last year at the flea market. We layered cookies, and I have this dish with leftover candy from the candy tree, and then I put a vintage napkin underneath to kind of create like a picture frame effect. I don't know, I thought that was kind of fun with all of the different stripes and the colors going on. And also on the table, if you see, there's little velvet leaves. Those are from the 1950s. I used to use those when I made wreaths. So I have tons of vintage craft supplies that I try to use for decor. This year I am hosting Christmas Eve. So I'm gonna do like a ham, turkey dinner. I love to cook. So I'm gonna do, I go all out. Tons of sides, pies, homemade pie crust, you name it, I make it. And then Christmas morning, we usually do cinnamon rolls, and I make biscuits and gravy and eggs. It's pretty traditional as far as that goes, but I do make everything homemade because I love to cook. When we renovated this, we added all of these cabinets are new, and these shelves. I got the idea to do the shelves from Gilmore Girls. I saw it on there and I was like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I love it. I can put all of my knickknacks up there and plants. Right now I have, obviously a lot of Christmas stuff. These are houses that I made a long time ago, and I did the little scallops with the beads and the bows to kind of mirror what I have going on the mantle in there. I have a bunch of dishes in here. Some of them are like, they're in queue, they're waiting to be hung, so like they have hooks on them, like this one. I try to collect stuff from West Virginia whenever I see it. So this is from the Cass Scenic Railroad in West Virginia. I need to hang this one up too. I have this one has a hook on the back. Over in this little corner area, we tried to maximize our space as much as possible. So we do have a mini fridge here, and we're gonna cover this up though eventually with a panel. We're still, DIY takes forever. We're never finished. We did get a really fun nugget ice maker that's down there. That was a splurge. I wanted this area to be my tea area because I do drink tea probably 2 to 3 times a day, and I have all of my loose leaf teas, and I hang my cups over here. I usually have a tea kettle sitting out, but I put it away. And this is just a really cutesy, homey way. I don't know. I feel like a grown-up lady with all of these little tea things over here. So I did a kitchen tree this year, and this one's pretty tacky. This one has a lot of kind of novelty ornaments and a mixture of vintage ornaments on it. I do collab with a small business called Curated Home Decor every year, and they have really cool little kitschy ornaments like this sardines one. There's like a Diet Coke, there's a regular Coke, and these little mushrooms. So I just mixed that in with these are vintage handmade ornaments, and I made another bow garland to go on here. I have some vegetables too throughout. I think there's like some pea pods in there. I think it's just really cute and fun, and I like to not only just use, antique ornaments. I actually just recovered these because my kids had them looking disgusting. I just used the same Sunbrella fabric that I have over in the window seat and covered these with that. That's one thing I also like to use a leopard print in every room in some way. I mean, I like it a lot. So where does my creativity come from? I have no idea. I have always been like this for as long as I can remember. I have always loved Christmas. I've always loved decorating. I remember trying to make wreaths when I was like 4 years old out of a coat hanger at my grandma's house. I have always just made things into something else. I've always taken something and made it into something else. It's just how I've always been. I'm inspired a lot by pop culture, but like vintage pop culture. I love the colorways that they use, especially vintage cartoons. Oh my gosh, the colors are so beautiful. I'm inspired by nature a lot. Everything. I'm inspired by everything. I also like to dress in a creative way. I always like to have my nails. I wear jewelry. I just feel like I am kind of shy sometimes, so I've always just put my personality for everyone else to see in a different type of way, I suppose. So figuring out your style is definitely a journey, and I feel like mine is evolving more and more, and I'm refining it as years go by. I think a really good way is to take like on Pinterest or just images off the internet and put them into separate categories. Things that you love but are too afraid to try, things that you kind of like but don't like and aren't sure why, and then things that you definitely don't like. And then within each category, especially the one where you can't put your finger on what it is that you're not sure of, you can kind of start to see consistencies within patterns. I feel like that's really helpful. And then whether the stuff that you love but are too afraid to try, I always just say, like, people are so afraid to use color, and I know that it's like cliche. People always say, oh, like throw pillows. To me, I think a really great way to try out color is to try with painted trim. It seems like a drastic first step, but I think that it looks so cool and almost always adds something to a room. I think that every room needs something vintage in it. There needs to be some patina. If everything is brand new, it starts to become very generic and formulaic, and it looks like you just went to a big box store and bought it. It doesn't have any soul or personality or depth to it. So I think it's super important to have at least one thing that has some H to it. Right, now we're going to transition over into the kitchen area, and I love to talk about this little shelf here. I saw this and I had my husband build it for me whenever we did the renovations, and so our old counters were all butcher block, so we use some of the butcher block that we took out as the shelves, kind of paying homage to that. And I just put cookbooks, and there's also a bunch of outlets for iPad chargers and whatnot that I hide back there. And so over here, this little run right here are the OG cabinets that we put in when we first did all of our renovations. And I really did pick out something timeless, you know, shaker cabinets, glass doors, and then just a beadboard backsplash, and then the sink. We did replace the faucet with this unlacquered brass, which I really love. And then we put in the soapstone, which I really love. I went with this color yellow because it reminds me of butter, and someone told me that my kitchen reminds them of the Ghosts kitchen on the Barbie movie, if that makes any sense. And that was like the nicest compliment because it's so warm and cozy, and it reminds me of the 1940s. When I was decorating this room for Christmas, I just wanted to imagine that I was Mrs. Claus and like what her kitchen would look like, and then I just went from there. I got 4 of these on Facebook Marketplace. The listing said that they were from the 1950s from a department store display, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have no clue what I'm going to do with them, but I have to buy them because they're so cool. I'm never going to find something like this again. So here we are. I've got 2 more hung in the stairwell, and I had a bunch of haters telling me that they were a little bit too big for the space, but I don't think that's true. This tree was another recent find. I had found the tree that's on the back of this door about 5 years ago, and I loved it, and then just happened to see a little miniature one the other day, which was really awesome find because that doesn't happen that often. I just did more paper chains, more dried oranges over here. I got these pink curtains from Etsy, and I love them because I like to use pink whenever I can. And this little moment right here, these are from True Tone. I love True Tone, by the way. So these are LEDs and they don't get hot. And this year they came out with these halos, which I think look so freaking pretty. So when I renovated, I did the color drench, but I decided to do wallpaper in the kitchen just to keep the spaces somewhat separate, even though they are open to one another. I love the wallpaper. It's from Cole & Sons, I believe. I think. This cat clock, I've always wanted one ever since I saw it on The Simpsons when I was a kid, but I got the girl version. So this is new. This is not vintage, but I think she's really, really fun. This little light over here, my daughter thought it was the ugliest thing ever, but I think it's so fun. I want my kitchen to feel like an Appalachian, like Meemaw, but that's like really eccentric and Mrs. Claus. You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe that I go for in here. And I put, oh gosh, I got this pediment on Etsy, and I think that adds like a nice little focal point in this space because this board I could not take off without doing extensive repair to the wall, and I did not want to mess with the plaster, so I just left that up and decided to put the pediment over to kind of make it look a little nicer, I think. Because I do everything DIY. Me and my husband do everything ourselves, and somehow a lot of the plaster and drywall stuff has become my responsibility. So anyway, this is just a plant stand that matches my wicker outdoor set, and I thought it would look really cute with the poinsettia in here, and I was right. So it looks really, I think it looks really, really cute. I just brought that inside. I try to use everything that I already have. I'm not big on buying a lot of new things unless they're old new things. So I love the trend, I suppose, of having like a little lamp in your kitchen, and honestly it really does make it feel a lot warmer. So I just took and added some fringe to a lamp that I already had and put that there. And this is one of my favorite paintings. I've had this for, oh my gosh, forever, and I keep it in this spot. So I just put a few of my little putz houses up here, and I like to use die cuts too. So I always put these little reindeer right here because I think it's really fun having them hop across the windows. And I love putting wreaths on the doors too. And I got my little, this is a little vintage guy, little blow mold. And then more oranges with cloves in them. This isn't as magnificent as everything else, but my daughter Ruby, she is 2.5. She found a big bag of these cookie cutters at the thrift store. So this is her tree. This was her ideas, and so this is what her little tree is, because I don't like for the kids to touch the ornaments, the vintage ornaments, because they're breakable and they have lead paint. So anyway, that's her tree. I do consider myself a maximalist. I have a hard time letting go of things. We did do some deep cleaning this past summer, and I got rid of things, and I'm already regretting getting rid of those things. Sometimes when you find something and you don't have a spot for it, you just know, you know what I mean? There are things that I've put out this year that I haven't used for like 4 or 5 years, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad that I kept that. So it's kind of a hoardery answer, and my basement is pretty full of thousands of ornaments and all kinds of other eccentric things that I've thrifted and collected over time. My favorite thing about my house is how cozy it feels. It feels like I feel like you can walk in and expect to smell like cookies, or you take a nap on the couch with a blanket. It feels like, it doesn't feel like you can't touch anything. Like you can put your feet up on, you know, the ottoman, and just feel welcome and safe. I always kind of say it's kind of woo-woo, but like I do it for like my inner child. I tried to create a space that I needed as a little girl. So now we're gonna head upstairs. I'm gonna show you my bedroom. Here we are, and this is the main bedroom, and as you can see, I have color drenched this room as well. There is a lot of Christmas in here, and really not any room goes untouched in this house. For the bed, I wanted to create a very glamorous moment, so we put up this canopy, and we just used like fiberglass frame, and I got curtains and then just bedazzled them with the fringe and the velvet ribbon on them. I got this headboard for $50 on Facebook Marketplace, and then I added the hot pink stripe here just to, I don't know, make it look a little better, in my opinion, a little more fun. Lots of florals on here, mixing of patterns. I love this quilt. I couldn't find a pink rose quilt anywhere, so I bought this and just dyed it with Rit dye to make it the color that I wanted. And I was gifted this from Golden Yarrow, and they have beautiful, like this is a duvet cover, but I love that it's chenille and looks like it's vintage. So as you can see, I have a leopard print rug in here. Again, love leopard print. My husband has no problems with the pink bedroom, none whatsoever. He knows that this is my passion, decorating is my passion, and I mean, he has opinions on things. I wouldn't do anything that he absolutely hated. But yeah, no, he just lets me pretty much have free reign to do whatever I want and explore, you know, my creativity as much as I want in here. I wanted to kind of mimic how I did the green garland in the living room, but in a more affordable way. And also because I did the aluminum tree, I wasn't sure that green garland would look okay. I feel like, you know, I needed to stick with silver. So I just got some tinsel garland from Target and used command hooks and some screws because a few of them fell down, and then just made a ton of bows. And you can see I have two different colors of bows and materials because I just kept running out of fabric. I have made so many bows this year, it's kind of crazy. And then these are all vintage glass ornaments that I hung up on here, and I just did a variation of fuchsias and reds and in, you know, varying sizes. I tried to rein in the amount of color that I used just because this is the coral is so bold in here. I got this vanity last year. It's from the 1920s. I love it. This makes me feel like a vintage starlet when I'm sitting here and doing my makeup. This is one of my favorite things ever. And I made little, I guess, kind of curtains with the garland. I just took little strips and wrapped floral wire and just kept adding it and shaping it the way that I wanted to. I have some little putz houses down here on the vanity and this little swan with ornaments in it. I got these lamps, I forget what they're called, but these are from the 1920s as well. I have another one downstairs and I think that it's so fun. And this little brass clam lamp that I got, I think I paid $5 for that a few years ago. Like, that's an insane price. Now it would be so expensive. And yeah, and then I got this little vintage ottoman. And actually, my grandparents had one almost just like that when I was growing up. So that's kind of fun. I got this tree back in 2020, but this is only the second year that I've actually put it out. It does shed a lot, and I didn't like to put it out with the kids because they would just brush up against it and there would be aluminum needles all over the floor. So I was like, well, I'll just, you know, put it on the dresser and that'll keep it out of the way for them. I made the tree skirt that's on here. I just had some satin fabric and extra tassels that I used on those curtains and just whipped that up really quick. And I put some little putz houses underneath with some bottle brush trees. And then I have this cat. She's a little diva moment over here with her pink bow. So I wanted to do a big gallery wall because I wanted to do a frame TV because we do like to watch TV in here. And I wanted to kind of hide it as best I could. This tapestry I bought on Facebook Marketplace. And I actually painted his outfit pink and some of the flowers pink just to make it a little more fun. This was painted for me by an artist, I believe her name is Stephanie Barron. She painted that for me based off of the colors in my house, but this was back when I had a lime green ceiling in the living room. This is just thrifted art. And this little wall pocket, these are vintage porcelain roses in there. This little heart chair is a fan favorite and it is floating around my house at all times. I moved it up here to make room for the Christmas tree. It's been in the kitchen, the living room, the dining room. I got this for $10 back a few years ago at Salvation Army and I love it so much. This is sentimental, it's ugly, but this little stand here, my pappy made, I think in the 50s in shop class in high school, and he kept it in his shed and there's like black splotches from where he would like test spray paint on it to see if they still worked. And he passed a few years ago, so that's really sentimental to me. These were mirrors that I got on Facebook Marketplace and just did rub and buff on them because they were like brown, ugly plastic before to zhuzh them up. And I have some mid-century wall sconces there. And this nice little deer. I think I got this at Goodwill. It's kind of paying homage to my heritage in a weird way, I suppose. On each bedside table, I have these little Mr. and Mrs. Clauses, and these are actually made out of dish soap. So these were like DIY crafts that people used to do back in the 60s and 70s. So I think that's pretty cool. It has like sand inside of it. I guess that these were like little kits you could buy. And I just have a couple little putz houses and little embroidered runners everywhere. So for the chandelier, I made it, I designed it, made it. I ordered like organic cotton fringe and then I hand dyed all of the colors. And then my husband did the brass bands, everything, all of the working parts are brass. He was the one that made it like a working fixture. I just figured out how to make it look pretty. I used to sell these, but I don't anymore. And I had one of these in my dining room as well, but we just took it out for the orange one that's down there now. Home means to me a place where you feel it's your safety net, it's where you can grieve, it's where you can experience joy, it's where you can relax, it's where you can feel inspired. I don't know, it's everything. And that's why I think it's so important to have your home reflect your personality and your life's journey and the things that you love. Homeworthy, it's been so fun having you here today, but I have so much more decorating to do, so it's time to say goodbye for now. See you later.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.